Good morning, all. I am Endorsed, and I'm reporting to you live from Dublin, Ireland at the Emergent Ventures conference. We're here on the sidelines, and I wanted to say thank you guys very much for your support. Alternate Views, the book and podcast, has been selected as one of the transformative emergent ventures, which was a short list of persons all over the world. So we've been recognized as a leader in economic development and a leader of transformative social change. So we just wanted to update you and let you know what was going on. So we attended the conference, and we want to acknowledge all of those persons who have supported Alternate Views, and I wish to say thank you to you all, and to acknowledge persons like Mr. Rainder Calendar, Mr. Margot Trent Calendar, Dr. Dennis Lowe, and all of those other persons who would have contributed to Alternate Views. So I just want to update you, the Barbadian public, as to the Alternate Views being selected as a global thought driver, and say that I wish to express my utmost gratitude to you all who watched Alternate Views and who bought Alternate Views, the book. I'm doing my country proud, and I'm doing my school, the St. Michael's School, very proud. So I thank you guys very much, and I look forward to your continued support of Alternate Views, the brand. So goodbye, and thank you all very much. I will update you as time will on. But Kimar Short live.
Yes, good night, good night, good night. Alternate viewers, just let me know if you can hear me well. Testing one, two, three. Just let me know if you can hear me well. Alternate views. Kimar Stewart. We are live from Barbados. We're hearing that the volume is low, so let us try to get that up and functioning. Just let me know if you can hear me well. If you can hear me well, uh, trying our best to get that volume up. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. Alternate views. Kimar Stewart here. Testing, testing. Loud and clear. So, welcome to all alternate viewers this evening. I am Kimar Stewart, and I want to welcome you all to this show this evening. We are live from Barbados, as many of the international viewers would call us live from Bridgetown, Barbados. So, we want to welcome you all to the show this evening. Um, as you know, we shot our last show from live in Dublin. That was a very great show. So I want to again congratulate the Alternate Views team for what we've been able to achieve. We're very proud to have achieved uh, such a great accolade so early on in the journey. If you could give me 1 second, please. So thank you very much. Uh, as you can see here, we are uh, streaming live. We're streaming live from Barbados for our international guests and for locals. Um, you know how we usually do. My usual studio. So as you can see, we have our Barbados replica, as we usually do, as we are proud. The show is based in Barbados. And you can see we've added a slight decoration to our background. So this emblem that you can see at the back here was one that we got crop over there. It represents royalty and some other uh, patriotic ideals, I should say. So we want to thank the person who would have created it and express our gratitude to them. Now, let me welcome the early patron supporters. We had some persons today. Marcia, thank you for always tuning in. Remain an avid supporter of Alternate Views. Junie Rock, the saying good night tomorrow. Looking forward to a great and educational show. Thank you, Junie. Mildred Ben is saying welcome back. Thank you very much, Mildred. I am glad to be back home in Barbados. There's no place like home. Camila Lewis was saying we had low volume, but we rectified that problem now. So thank you very much, Camilas. Sonia Perch is saying good night. Good night to you, Sonia. Rhonda Paris. Good to see you on tonight. It was good to see you as well in person. So great to meet you and thank you for being an alternate viewer. Pauline Maynard. Good night to you, Pauline. Says she's hearing me loud and clear. She's looking forward to my show this evening. Thank you very much, Pauline. We usually have good shows. Sir Alfred Benjamin, part of our international audience, diaspora. Welcome to you, Sir Alfred. Always good to have you in the hope, sir. Monica Inks, welcome to Alternate Views. Thank you very much for tuning in, the early patient supporters. Welcome to the program. We're very glad to have you on tonight. So, our show tonight, as you saw advertised, is called Back to Barbados. So, we are here back home in Barbados, Alternate Views. and we first want to, just take it take it slow, as this is our first show back on island, and let us get back into it. The trip is very good to be back home. The flight back home was good. I slept most of it, so it was really good. Huge thank you to British Airways, by the way. Very good hospitality, very good food. Smooth trip back here to Barbados. We went through the Grand International Airport. Um, that experience was very, very interesting. Right? I am hoping that the government does facilitate its promise to upgrade the Grand International Airport, because it definitely needs its upgrades. So, based off our airport experience, I would say that some money needs to be spent on the Grand International Airport. However, I still believe that you should still not be giving away the airport for on a third year lease to a foreign country. I don't believe so, but I do believe that airport definitely needs investment. Uh, $10 million a year over a 30-year period is chump change. The garbage and sewage tax, according to Dr. Clay Masker, makes $80 million a month on average. Right? That's close to $1 billion a year. So therefore, the airport could be upgraded by the garbage and sewage tax. The airport could be upgraded by VAT collection, income tax collection. So, you know, same old song, same old harping song. But investment is needed in the Grand National Airport ASAP. Experience at the airport compared to international airports, because I had to pass through two airports. In terms of transit and so on, the experience was really different. So we have some work to do in terms of upgrading our airport. FX Trading is saying good evening and welcome back to the line. Kimar, nothing has changed since you have been away, but I have gotten worse. Well, Lemuel tell, good night to you, Lemuel. We're up at 7:15 on a Thursday evening. Alternate views. Queen J, uh, thank you very much for tuning in. Shaker King is saying, good night, Kimar. Welcome back. Hope you enjoy your time and experience. Hope it was an enjoyable one and an eye opener. It definitely was. And I'm here to share my experiences with you, John Public, as to what a bit of travel could do. I would recommend for persons who want to get into decision making positions that it, it's a very eye opening experience to have an international view of the world, and to realize that Barbados is a very small place compared to the whole entire globe. And I believe that Barbados is so far behind time. We're still better off than many, but we're still very far behind time as it relates to international flavor, if I should use that word flavor. But um, we're not here to beat our country to the ground. We are here to have some hope. Have some inspiration and aspiration for our country. But we need, and I believe that most of our experiences in the Caribbean comes down to the fact of leadership, right? Leadership. What's the vision that the leaders have for the country? What's the vision the leaders have for the region? And how practical is that vision? And are they making steps to realize those visions? Could be an economic vision, a prosperity, it could be a legal vision of proper governance, corruption free, what? But crime free. But some leader And some, or leaders, they should say, should articulate vision. But what I see coming out of many governments, not just the Caribbean, internationally, you don't see policies and ideas and ideals that could bring people together. What you get are personal attacks. What you get is rhetoric which runs investment away from countries. What you have are oppositions who oppose and say it. You have ineffective oppositions as well. Um, so the experience in the Caribbean as it relates to political parties, or not just political parties, but institutions that are tasked with building up society. Um, what vision in 2024 do they have for a better society? What vision do they have for a better country? What vision do they have for a better life for the people? And any country that boasts of international status, and specifically the Barbados International Airport being an international airport, arguably one of the better airports in the Caribbean. Um, National vision and economic prosperity says that we should invest in upgrades, constant upgrades to international standards for the sole airport in Barbados. For the sole airport in Barbados. So basic things like having one of those bridges when when the plane land, you walk from the plane straight into the airport of itself, into the arrival lounges and so. Just in case the weather is not good, basic things like that would make the experience better. Basic things like having the conveyor belts working properly, that persons can have their luggage on time and not have to wait extreme periods to collect the luggage, right? Um, Ensuring that the PA system is fully functional, ensuring that there's proper working conditions for staff. We saw recently that uh, some guard security walked off the job because of unbearable heat in the airport. So when we look at vision and when we look at participating in the international side of things, we expect um, some improvements to the experience. So not only, well, mainly tourists, right? Mainly tourists use the airports. Locals use the airports, but mainly tourists have the airport. So when you compare experiences, I believe our airport experience has some room for improvement. No, I agree with this comment here that I like to walk off the plane in the open air, island life. And I agree because I actually love the fact that I was able to walk in the sun and recoup and recollect Barbados. But however, that was on a bright sunny day. What about a rainy day? Or what about you know those days where the weather does not permit? Um, so you have to stay on the plane, a hot plane for extensive periods of time, and you can't get off. Now, waiting on the plane to get off, I mean that was grueling because it was kind of like all at the back, and you had to wait until everybody for a low, and there were delays on the runway and stuff. So it was the plane started to get hot and you started to get uncomfortable and antsy and stuff. So that bridge would help in terms of the weather. So you don't want to be stuck on the plane. Right? You don't want to be stuck on the plane, um, provided that the weather does not permit. So you could walk and you could chew gum. Now, my thing is here. People is saying that we get our luggage quicker than a lot of airports experience. Yeah, so I'm not saying that our airport is totally bad. I'm gonna take our airport is fairly good. However, we're just pointing out areas for improvement, suggestive to say, well, you can improve here, improve there, improve there, invest here, because the international world is watching, the international world is experiencing And if you want those ratings, if you want to be mentioned in the top tier, those reports that say the best airport experiences in the world, these are the things that you have to work on. Right? These are the things that you have to work on to have that international uh, respect as being one of the top airports in the world, and it will substantially help increase tourism. No, part of the budget in 2000, and I'm reading from Alternative Views, by the way, but part of the measures in the plan, the Barbados Economic and Recovery Plan, right, was a departure tax. A departure tax. So every person, and the government announced this, that the government planned to transition what you call the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. and the Barbados Tourism Product Authority into a PPP, a public-private partnership, with the government retaining a minority shareholding in order to facilitate the new institutional arrangements. And the minister declared that the intended revenue will be isolated to manage these institutions earlier in its early years, right? So the government maintained minority shareholding, but they privatized the BTMI and the Barbados Tourism Product Authority, merged them into PPP. And he announced, this is the Minister of Tourism, that, no, this was the Minister of Finance, sorry, but it says he, that the introduction of an airline travel and tourism development fee, and this fee is to be paid by passengers flying outside of CARICOM, and that fee was US, right? That fee was US $70, and for those persons traveling within CARICOM, it was US $35. And this fee is in addition to the departure tax, right? It was anticipated that this fee would raise $95 million, with $75 million going towards the BTMI and the Barbados Tourism Product Inc. And the remaining $20 million will go towards the regulation of tourism, civil aviation, and shareholders responsible to LIAC. So strange, right? So $20 million went to the shareholders in LIAC from the departure tax that the government put at the airport. So when you go in and come in, you have to pay this 70 US and 35 US. And they said that this tax intended to make $95 million, with 20 million going towards LIAC. But still LIAC shut down, But still LIAC shut down, so shareholders got a massive $20 million payout. According to the BERT plan, the Barbados Economic and Recovery and Transformation Plan, and according to Alternative Views, the book, I'm reading from page 60, which speaks to the BERT plan, and it says that the LIAC shareholders got a $20 million payout, but still LIAC shut down. Right? Interesting. So, the golden goose called tourism. The government put taxes on it. Right? The government put taxes on the golden goose tourism. And from since then, you could realize that tourism numbers in Barbados started to decline, performance started to decline. Right? So don't let rhetoric confuse you that government actually overtaxed tourism. They didn't only do that, They went further, and reading from page 61, this is now for persons who are traveling into Barbados. Right? This is for persons traveling into Barbados. Luckily, I was coming back home, so I didn't have to go and pay the hotel and whatever. No. But if you're coming back home and you want to stay at a hotel or so, the government charge. This is under the plan, by the way, the Barbados Economic Recovery Transformation Plan. The plan said that the government intended to put a room rate levy, right? And among that room rate levy, what they call B class and apartments. So B class rooms and apartments. And this levy was basically like a $5 billion. So you got to pay an extra 5 US, well, $2.50 US, which is $5 billion, right? On the A class rooms, you have to pay US 550, right? Which should be about $11 Barbados. And then they tax what we call the luxury or rooms, which were a US $10 per night, which is about $20 per room. In addition, the minister announced that the application of a 2.5% product levy on all direct tourism services, which is to be collected on the government's behalf by these service providers. Like, at any point in time, did you alternate viewers or the audience hear the government of Barbados articulate to you how much they made of these room rate levies, or how much they made of this 2.5 product levy on all tourism services in Barbados? And let them say to us if these taxes, right, give us the amounts, how much they made, and let them say to you if these taxes were indeed beneficial to the coffers of Barbados. Right? They didn't stop there. They then added a 10% shared accommodation levy on all fees charged for shared accommodation. So that was like Airbnb and those type of arrangements. 10%, right? 10%. So it was anticipated that those measures that I just gave to you, and I'm going to repeat them once more for, because this is alternate views. The departure tax, right, which is US $70 and US $35, CARICOM International, right? They said that intended to make 95 million. You then had the room rate levies, and I gave you the list of them, along with the 2.5 product levy, along with a 10% shared accommodation levy on Airbnb, right? So Alternate Views goes on to say at page 62 that the Burt plan and the crafters of the Burt plan suggested that the room rate levy would make approximately $47 million a year. The direct tourism product levy is approximately making 3.9 million, 4 million a year, and the shared accommodation levy on Airbnb was intended to make $8 million a year. Now, in reporting the tourism statistics, did any of the alternate viewers hear possibly like the Minister of Tourism, the Minister of Finance, even possibly the Governor of the Central Bank? Did you hear anybody really articulate to you about these taxes and the collection of these taxes? Were they ever included as figures in the presentations and put to the public? Did you ever see the Nation newspaper, Barbados Today, any of the public, the news media, so print any printouts on the tourism related taxes under the Burt plan? I challenge any of the alternate viewers to say to me, did you ever hear that? Was it ever, people saying not that I can recall. I can't recall either. So Sir Alfred is saying that US $70 got a lot of people can't get a cigar. Okay. All the saying good night, Kimar. Glad to have you back. I'm glad to be back. Sanchez, saying good night. All thank you. Marshall was saying, do we have that magnitude of visitors to facilitate upgrades? That PA system was in that condition for decades. Can't hear anything properly at no time. Marshall, there are so many people who pass through the airports of Barbados. Millions of visitors pass through the Grand Islands International Airport a year, right? So we have the volume, right? Barbados is a place that connects, not on a granular level, but connects America and South America to a point, not not a big thing, but I guess in the future, based off the trajectory that I could see, um, Chile having one part ownership of the PPP and Dubai, those are two different jurisdictions and geographical areas of the earth. So I could see some type of connectivity, possibly from the, giving away the airport, how the government did it. I could see the idea of it, but I don't agree with giving away the ownership rights in that lease for so long. Right? But back to the point, did you ever hear the government speak to the collection of these taxes? So a lot of these selfie type, taxes were put even on tourism and bleeding tourism. So they were, I want to try to get that article up because I believe that they were articles. We're going to get the facts on the screen as usual. So, good night, Randy Ford, Griffith. Thank you very much. Blessed good night to dear Worrell. I believe that's dear from St. John. Alexi Williams. Good night to all of you people on here from St. John as well. I'm glad to have you on Alternate Views. So let's just think about Barbados. Let's just think about having all of those people coming into Barbados for World Cup. When we have these massive events, people coming into the country. What experience are they having coming into our airports and how we could improve it? Now, I wrote an article in Barbados today around 2021, right? Around 2021, and I'm going to try to get that on the screen so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. Let's see what is saying. Nice to have you back, Kimar. Congratulations on your recent accomplishment over the pond. Well, thank you very much. It was an honor to represent Barbados. Let me just make it clear. I did not represent the government of Barbados. I represented Barbados from an alternate views perspective, a purely entrepreneurial and professional perspective. So I represented my country from that angle. And it was very good to do that. No, follow my screen. Follow my screen. And I'm saying that, and I wrote this in the business compartment of Barbados today, posted by Marlon Madden. This is when I did my podcast in those short videos on alternate views, and I would have said that the structural problems in Barbados were not being addressed. So I went on to say here that as Barbados prepares to welcome new hotel chains and revive its tourism product post COVID-19 pandemic, says that one economist is calling for a complete overhaul of the island's tourism sector. Kimar Stewart, Director of Business Development, Finance and Investments with Stewart and Perkins Caribbean, argued that if Barbados was to remain competitive in the tourism industry, several changes have to be made. Right? And to quote Stewart, it says that one must tackle the structural issues that the Barbados tourism product faces. And I pointed to the $300 million BEST program. And we're going to touch a bit on that in alternative. But the $300 million BEST program, the Barbados Employment and Sustainability Transformation Program, $300 million. He said that this only allowed for hotels to enhance the infrastructure and retain employment to a certain extent. However, Stewart warned that an urgent and closer look at the tourism industry was necessary at this time. So the government put aside $300 million to give to the hotels after COVID, and this $300 million allowed the hotels to invest in the infrastructure, upgrade the plants, repair this, repair that. And the government actually paid hoteliers to keep workers on staff during COVID. But what happened is that a lot of hoteliers kept the money and still fired the staff. Right? So I can put this question again to y'all. Did y'all ever hear of the government coming back to Barbadians and updating you on the BEST program, the $300 million worth of BEST, and saying how many hotels actually signed on to this BEST program? How much money out of the $300 million was given over the hotels? And how soon could we start looking at, the repayments or whatever from the hotels? Because the government in this BEST program, hotels had to give up, I think it was called preference shares, some type of ownership share to the government in exchange for this money. So how much shares did the government get through the BEST program in which hotels they got them in? These are questions that need to be answered, $300 million worth, and they're still saying home the staff. So he went on to say that after the pandemic, that there will be fierce competition for visitor arrivals in almost every country that focuses on tourism. And the demand for travel to Barbados from source markets will be subdued and reduced due to these new travel protocols and the legal restrictions and impediments which may arise from Barbados going to the Republic. So change in terms of passports, jurisdictions and stuff would also help to cut tourism numbers coming into Barbados, unemployment, and the reduced income that people will have in the respective countries. So the entire world went through recession. England, US, everywhere we get tourists from, they have recessions, and their people are not going to have the amount of money when they're traveling to be splurging in Barbados. So you have what we call broke tourists, broke pocket tourists, who are coming to Barbados, walk around, take pictures, get back on the boat and gone. Or walk around, take pictures, go back to the hotel, but they're not spending money. So therefore, the people on the ground are not benefiting really. The taximen are complaining, hardly any jobs. The craftsmen are complaining, hardly benefiting from tourism. The bars, the shops, the restaurants. We didn't even get the amount of tourists coming in for crop over that we usually do. Like, during World Cup, they argued that the hotels were sold out. I argued not, because the head of the BHG, I believe, came out and argued and said that, they still had a lot of booking space available in hotels. So this was since 2021 that I warned the government and I warned Barbadians about this issue of visitor arrivals in Barbados. And that last point that I made, and I'm going to repeat it once more, the demand for travel to Barbados from the different source markets will be subdued due to the travel protocols, the legal impediments which may arise from Barbados' move to the Republic, unemployment, and the reduced incomes in all economies for wherever we attract tourists and visitors. So, with the island set to welcome the Hyatt and the Wyndham Hotel, which was Sam Lodge, which is now built, but Hyatt is not built for whatever reasons. Between this year and next year, I would have argued that the structure of how hotels operate in Barbados must be relooked, right? So we have to relook how we manage tourism, how we allow hotels to set up here. And I argued that no longer it could be business as usual, where subsidies, bad treatment of unionized workers, and the non-recognition of unions in hotels, changes in the labor laws of Barbados to benefit employers. I Caswell could tell you a lot about that. And these unions that are battling with these hotels, and some unions that are also selling out to the hotels. Tax holidays, no or low import duties, and large concessions are traditional tools that they use to bring down the cost of these hotels functioning in Barbados and basically giving them free rides in the country. So I would have argued that many Caribbean countries attempt to outdo each other in terms of offering sweetheart deals to woo these big hotels and to woo these big investors, in which they then offer the residents of the countries jobs, and the people would get some jobs, as bartenders and waiters and supervisors and golf caddies and bellboys and those type of jobs. I worked in the hotel industry, so I could tell you a lot about that. I worked at Sandy Lane, I worked at Ocean 2, and I did part-time work at the Marriott, at some other couple of hotels. I also went to Hotel Palmarine, and I would have studied for an associate degree in tourism and travel. So this is definitely my area. So anybody asking, well, alternative views, yeah, well, we studied at Palmarine and we have an associate degree in travel and tourism. Right? Travel and tourism. So we know what we're talking about. We're well studied in the area, we're well versed in the area. So I will go on to argue. I say that these big sweetheart deals, right, and the pressure that the drawback of this practice is causing governments around the region to lose hundreds of $millions in tax revenue that can be collected. So the people are not benefiting from these sweetheart deals because the government is foregoing millions in revenue. And I argued that this practice leads foreign exchange out of Barbados, as these hotels would use international vendors to supply themselves whenever they set up shop in Barbados and across other economies across the Caribbean. And I therefore suggest that Barbados, being in the context of an IMF program, will recognize its overexposure to tourism, and to tackle the structural economic issues associated with the industry. Right? And what I just listed to you are the structural issues that the government refused to touch. Labor issues, the management structure of these hotels, the concessions, the import of all goods and services, low to no taxes. And I say that the Burke Plan rallies around a strong performance in tourism. But given the pandemic, it calls for a revamp of how tourism services are delivered, as the entire survival of the economy is too overly dependent on the arrivals of tourists in Barbados. Alternatives argue this point. I'm going to repeat it once more. The Burke Plan, the Barbados economy, even if you listen to the governor of the central bank, there's a over focus on tourism arrivals. But I argue since 2021 that the government has to relook this and start focusing on tourism arrivals and measuring tourism arrivals as some type of success, because it is not. When you have a lot of broke pocket tourists coming who are not spending because their discretionary incomes have been cut because there are recessions back home, and even for the more luxury elite type tourists, they too are cutting back, and you could just look at the numbers. Right? It says here that earlier this year, economists joined others in calling on the government to move with urgency in building out other sectors rather than continuing to focus heavily on tourism, and it is no less than vibrant. Describing the Barbados tourism product as expensive, Stewart said officials must do what was necessary to reverse the declining market share of tourism in the region, which means that Barbados is losing visitors to other countries in the Caribbean. Grenada, Jamaica, Dominica, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Barbados was on the decline, and these countries are on the up and up. And they argued that Barbados' tourism product is very expensive. And they argued that, and I forgot this one here as well, where that the government increased VAT. The government increased value-added tax from 7.5% to 10.5 to 10% on the tourism sector. The airline and the tourism development tax on air passengers, which we spoke about, an increase in property tax on hotels, the room rate levy, and the tax on Airbnb only serve to increase the cost of travel to an already expensive Barbados. However, while indicating that he could understand the rationale for these new taxes due to the large concessions in the sector, right? So I argued that these new taxes were trying to right size the economy because we were giving away too much freeness in terms of concessions. So we're giving away freeness, so we had to find a way to recoup that freeness, and I suspect that's why the government put the taxes in place, right? However, I was still concerned that several factors, including high airfare, accommodation costs, fuel, and food prices, will continue to put Barbados out of the reach of the average tourist. And here ends the Bible reading. But that is what I would have argued. But that is what I would have argued since April 2021, right? That is what I argued about April 2021, and I said that we need to move away. Just saying that we had this amount of arrivals, because we also measure connecting flights as arrivals. I took a connecting flight through England, so England has a right to measure me as a tourism arrival. So Barbados does that, right? So you can artificially inflate statistics to tell a story that need not be accurate. It may not be lies, but it's not accurate. So I promised I would go into what the best program is, but in the meantime, let me just shout out some persons here. And I always ask you, how's the discussion going for you? Don't just let me talk. Make your comments in the chat. Let me know if you're enjoying this discussion so far. Dale is saying yes, it's me. Good to see you, Dale. Linda, Stuart, thank you for tuning on. Stuart, thank you. Give a shout out to my cousins, Mikael and Rico and everybody. Hamilton, everybody. Monica Boxer is saying greetings. Good night to you, Monica. Michael Jokes. Good night to you. Pete Bay is saying, what are we selling as our product? Jefferson Sobers is saying good night. Thank you very much. Rosemary Lynn, thank you very much for tuning in. Very happy to see you, but I haven't seen you on here for a while, so thank you very much. Sir Alfred Benjamin is saying travelers these days are budgeting on everything, and that is so true, Sir Alfred. There are, and I made the point that incomes are are being cut, right? Incomes of persons are being cut, and even the tourists are on budget. So I did say that I'm going to go into what the best program is. So we are putting ourselves as tourists. If the connection have a little thing. Well, well, my experience is that I probably could have only bought something at London Heathrow. But if I ever, this airport is so big that to get from one side to the other, it took me almost 2.5 hours, and I almost missed my flight. And I didn't go anywhere. I didn't even stop to buy anything. I, I didn't even stop to buy anything. So in Barbados, I'm not sure that the time is so wide that you could come and gallivant into Barbados and spend a lot of money. Because, for example, if you're taking a connecting flight to a country down the islands or somewhere else that is way cheaper, I don't think you're gonna get out to come and shop in expensive Barbados, right? You could possibly get duty free on items, right? And you will take basic items because remember you can't do that much shopping on a connecting flight because you may not want to pay for luggage and those type of things. So I take your point, but there's very little benefit associated with in between connecting flights. That could happen in like major cities, when the turnaround times or you can have a little flexibility, but to try that at London Heathrow you will get left. You're gonna miss your flight for sure. Uh yes, Rosemary, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the show from Ireland. We are back home in Barbados now. Um we had a very good time over there, but the work continues, so we are back home. We're back in the hot seat, and we're continuing to work with people of Barbados and to do what we know best at Alternate Views. Um, Let me give a special good night to the Caribbean Progress Studies Institute. Um, and let me just, acknowledge the Emergent Ventures. And as you know, we are on an Emergent Venture 2024. Tamika Harper is saying good night to all. I found you tomorrow by way of the Marcy Rich Show. Welcome back and congratulations. Thank you very much. Good night to the Marcy Rich program. Good night to the Marcy Rich Show. You know, for love and respect to everybody on the Marcy Rich Show. Casper Franklin, Pastor Ferdinand, Maxine McLean, Dave Weeks, Rose, and anybody else. Hope I'm not don't want to leave out anybody's name, but everybody who is on the show, big up to them. No, the best program, the best program, right? The best program, what you call BEST, right? The best program. I'm going to type it in the comments that you can see exactly what I am speaking of. The best program. Yes, welcome to Archie Victor. Very glad to have you on the show. Very good to see persons all in St. Lucia tuned on. Thank you very much. Our audience is going far and wide. Um, you know, we're gonna have we're gonna have you know persons as far as Egypt by the time we're done on here. But that is what we're all about: connecting the world, um, enlightening the globe about transformative and bold ideas how to make the globe better. We're not just thinking about Barbados in a box. We're thinking about Barbados on the world stage. How can we make our participation in this world better as the world grows As the world grows, it grows more and more entwined, more and more interlocked, and we have to find means and ways to survive and participate uh, in it. So, taking some comments here. Charlene Hackett, good night to you. Thank you very much for tuning in to Alternate Views. She's on from Facebook, I believe. Lawrence St. Pierre, Fonzo, how are you? Fonzo is saying good night to enlighten the public. Continue to enlighten the public. Thank you very much. Good night to you. All the way there in the city. Sean Cool is saying some tourists live on credit, which is expensive. But no, you can also see them rated on yellow buses. Yes, tourists like to catch sedars and minivans in Barbados because the taxi fare is a bit expensive for them also. Yeah, people will say refer to a comment about connecting in Barbados and make up with a visitor and know the dynamics of Barbados. Again, Archie Victor is saying peace and abundance. Um, Tamika Harper is saying Barbados is too expensive and cannot compete with other places. We can't gaslight ourselves about these things. This government just won't learn. COVID showed us we can't rely and depend on tourism, and the government needs to diversify our economy and understand Barbados is not just an economy, it's a society. And this is a very true thing, dear Warren. And we've been harping this and harping this and harping this to the government. However, um, not just the government, but I guess throughout the Caribbean, most of us focus on tourism. Belize, I think 40% of Belize's GDP is focused on tourism. And they see it as a quick money earner to earn foreign exchange. And the fact that most of these governments continue to become more and more indebted to the US dollar, they have to rely on tourists to come and spend US money to earn so that they could earn that they could pay off these debts. Right? So Tamika is saying again that the government sees tourism numbers as number one even before it's showing people. It's shameful. But I just give you a reason why that could be, though, Tamika. The fact is that foreign dollars, governments need US currency. You see the amount of debt Barbados is in, and we're not in local debt. Right? We're not in local debt. And this is a conversation that I'm going to have again. We had an argument put up there by economists, by politicians, um, some very misleading statements, right, about Barbados' debt profile before 2018. Right? Barbados' debt profile between before 2018. Y'all would remember that the then opposition leader, which is now the prime minister, was ranting and raving about debt and how indebted Barbados was, and how much debt the dollar is going to devalue. And what was interesting about that is that Barbados was not borrowing foreign debt, but Barbados was borrowing Barbadian denominated debt. So we were borrowing money from our own institutions, meaning that Barbados was becoming more indebted to the central bank. It was becoming more indebted to the national insurance, and it was becoming more indebted to treasury bills, meaning the treasury of Barbados would have been receiving its money. And they were printing money and these things, but this was not money owed to, no, right? No. So Barbados' foreign debt ratio jumped from 22 to 25% to 47 now to 52%. But before 2018, most of Barbados' debt was Barbadian denominated currency, and the foreign debt of Barbados was only about, and this is owed to the IDB and all these places, was $1 billion owed to the IMF and those places. But we didn't owe the IMF, we owed the IDB and the CDB, and those institutions were $1 billion. But if you check it out now, is close to $6 billion. So Barbados' debt dynamics are considerably worse when it comes to our debt profile because we went from owing very little foreign exchange, we went from owing very little foreign debt to now owing a massive scale of foreign debt to the IMF, the IADB, the European Investment Bank, the IADB. And we have not been borrowing money from the central bank and the national insurance. So we've not been printing money and printing more and more treasury bills as savings bonds. We've not been doing that. We stopped that since 2018. But in the reverse, we went into the international market and borrowed a barrage of debt at 1%, they claim. Right? At 1%, they claim. But then later on, we saw when the Prime Minister of Barbados went to Congress that they were arguing that the jump in the interest rate went up by 400 basis points. Right? So it jumped from about 1% to about 4%. And that was added on to Barbados' international debt profile. These are things that need to be spoken about. Right? So the debt is now in US dollars, not Barbadian dollars. And you can't write it off and do a restructuring and just not pay back people and pay people. You can't do that with international debt from the IMF and those places, no, because they're steering devaluation right in the face. So that is Barbados' dynamic right now. But that is a whole nother show, but I thought I had to take a moment to explain that. We are on the best program. We are on the best program. But I want you guys to like alternate views. I want you to share alternate views. I want you to put it in the WhatsApps, circulate it as far and wide as possible. And, let us continue to build those numbers. Right. Let us continue to build those numbers. We're on the best program. So, I would have argued in alternate views the book at chapter 8 about the Barbados Economic Sustainability Transformation, or what we call the BEST program. And this BEST program was conceptualized by the special envoy in the Prime Minister of Barbados' office at the time, called Avinash Prasad. And Professor Avinash Prasad suggested that to tackle the ravishing of the hotel industry, right, where all of these people lost jobs, and to stop the slide in the hotel industry, that they should conceptualize what they call the BEST program, right? And it said here that at the time of conceptualization, that the government, at the time of conceptualization, $170 million worth of severance payments. $170 million worth of severance payments. Meaning that the hotels owed a lot of workers $170 million because they severed them and they lost their jobs during COVID. Right? So the employers had to pay the employees $170 million worth of severance. That is the sole reason why Prasad claimed they set up BEST, right? And that the government of Barbados now intended to set up $300 million, right? $300 million worth of investment into tourism businesses. And this was intended to take 12,500 workers off unemployment by paying up to 80% of the salaries for 24 months. So 2 years. I can repeat that. It was the government of Barbados' intention to invest $300 million into tourism businesses in a bid to take 12,500 workers off unemployment by paying 80% of the salaries for up to 12 months or what you call 2 years. And that the investment, the $300 million, would cover property and plant repairs. So, investing, upgrading the hotel, repairing whatever, making it nice, painting it, doing all of those things, along with training programs for the workers. Right? Training programs for the workers. Remember I told you that a lot of these workers kept this money and fired those workers? A lot of people never got trained, but these hotels got the government's money, but not the government, the taxpayers' money, right? And it says here that the government primarily invested in preference shares. And they said that earlier, they invested in preference shares in the hotels which agreed to sign on to this BEST program. And that these shares are to be repaid before any profit is collected or any sale of company assets by its owners. Right? So these hotels that agreed to sign on, right? The government invested in what are called preference shares. I say that these hotels will have to repay the preference shares before they collect any profit or before they sell the company. Now, I could just keep moving on because y'all know that. So I didn't forget go down that lane. So the issue of severance when it came up, right? The, the issue of severance when it came up, the Attorney General of Barbados, right? The Attorney General of Barbados, Dale Marshall, proposed a piece of legislation called Sunset legislation to the Parliament of Barbados, which amended the Severance Pay Act. So remember, employers, which are the owners of these hotels, owe the workers, the hotel workers, $170 million worth of severance payments. But in comes the Attorney General of Barbados, right? In comes the Attorney General of Barbados making a change to the Severance Payment Act, right? And this amendment says that there was an extension to the period of layoff before a person is entitled to claim severance from 13 weeks to 22 weeks. So before, the law said that you had to be laid off for 13 weeks before you could claim for severance, right? You had to be laid off for 13 weeks. But in comes the Attorney General of Barbados and making an amendment to the Severance Pay Act. And that amendment says now that you don't have to wait 22 weeks before you could claim severance. That before, when you just had to wait 13 weeks, now you got to wait 22 weeks before you could claim severance. I remember these employers owe the employees $170 million worth of severance. Right? So, for who have the book, I'm at page 126, so you can follow me if you want. Alternate views. Page 126. Right? It says here that in an article written by the Barbados Advocate, that the Attorney General of Barbados, and just quoting what was written in the Advocate, that the sunset legislation was an opportunity to throw businesses or the employers a much needed non-financial lifeline while helping to preserve employment. And as such, he gave the assurance that it will not affect the severance rights of workers in this country beyond the intended period, which they moved from 13 weeks to 22 weeks. Right? Now, a lot of people today still don't get severance, But the Attorney General of Barbados said that they intentionally gave the employers and these owners a much needed non-financial lifeline, which meaning that if they had to look for $170 million to pay in 13 weeks, they don't gotta do it anymore. Right? They don't have to do it anymore. They could wait 22 weeks. So he gave them a longer period now. But in the midst of it, you workers were impacted because the workers were not getting the severance. Up to today, people still not getting severance, you know. And then he went on to say that under the existing legislation, that a person who is on layoff for a short time, for a period of 13 consecutive weeks, has a right to serve a notice on his employer, a notice opting to take severance payments. Right? And he said that while this has been the norm, the 13 weeks, while this has been the norm for several decades, that the country now faces an unusual occurrence of large numbers of businesses being closed and thousands of people being able to work all at the same time, and therefore there is the potential of a large number of persons claiming severance at the same time. And the fact is that small businesses have already laid off people, so the large enterprises, in every instance, the potential cost of a severance payment claim in an environment where economic activity is suppressed by as much or more than 100% can have potential crippling effects on those enterprises. And the Attorney General of Barbados said that severance payment claims can present tremendous difficulties for a business in a situation where there is no economic activity. So you see what was done for these hotels during COVID? $300 million legislation being passed to stop them from paying $170 million in severance, and the Attorney General of Barbados openly endorsing the move to protect businesses over the rights of workers. So you see what type of stealthy moves were made to disadvantage workers in Barbados from getting what is due to them. Up to today, a lot of people still at home not getting severance. Up to today, we don't know how much of this money, but strange things, strange things, strange things. No. Let me pour something for you. Let me pour something for you. Right. This is an article written. This is an article written in 2020, November 2020, right? November 2020. We just get it on the screen here. I want y'all to look at this title here. It says, Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association writes government about best challenges. Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association writes government about best challenges. And this guy right here, I suppose, was the chairman of the Barbados and Hotel Tourism Association. Jeffrey Roach is his name. And in this article, it says that more than 24 tourism-related businesses have signed up for the BEST program, but have faced some challenges preventing them from fully benefiting. Officials at the BHTA have confirmed the development, but indicating that the association has written the Mayor Motley-led administration on the matter. And Chairman of BHTA, Jeffrey Roach, declined to say exactly what the challenges were, but he understands some of the concerns were related to bureaucratic procedures. And he confirmed that the BHTA had met with members. So, the BHTA is the umbrella body for the hotel, all of the hotels around. And they collected the information and they would have written to the government on the challenges that they were having. Right? Now, this guy would have still gone on to protect the government because he refused to divulge exactly what the challenges were. And, it proved difficult for him to give the information. But what's interesting in this article that we're going to take out the gems out of it, it says that the other components of the program is investment in the form of preference shares to fund investment in tourism property plots. There is an initial limit of $2 million per property for the investment component, with a maximum of 2 such investments per single owner. He said that there were some 37 applicants comprised of hotels and direct tourism services to the BEST program. And Chief Executive Officer of BHCDA, Senator Rudy Grant, said that 19 firms applied for the investment component of the program, which he said represented about $13 million. And he said we do have numbers who are applying to the BEST, and we do believe that it is a good facility that has been put in place, but we have to have some further discussions on it. Right? No, we don't want dilly-dally because these guys are playing cow and chicken and not really want to review the facts. Right? So we're going to get another article on this BEST program to show you. We're going to get some. Right. So they were saying no. Right, that this is the BHCA. This is the government's angle, by the way, that they want to get more tourism, more persons, sorry, to sign on to this so-called BEST program, right? So we're just going to bring that up for you to see. It says BHD optimistic more entities will sign on to the BEST program. As Cabinet gets ready to approve changes to a plan that was set up to help keep tourism workers employed, with a dramatic reduction in tourism arrivals, more hoteliers have been applying for financial assistance. Chief Executive Officer of the BHTA, Senator Rudy Grant, reported today that some 55 hotels have applied for assistance under the BEST program, with 40 of them being approved. So 40 hotels were approved for the BEST program, apparently. And under the employment component, businesses are expected to rehire all of their workers on 80% of their normal salary for up to 2 years. In addition to the employment and training component, the BEST program was introduced towards the end of September last year and offered businesses a $2 million cap for investment in upgrade in their facilities. Bratton was responding to a question from Bob from today's business, during the association's recent regular industry update. He says that to date, 55 applications have been made and 40 applications have been approved. Right? So monies are being paid out. Right? It says that BHTA represents in excess of 100 members, including of hotels, villas, apartments, guest houses, restaurants, and tour companies, as well as direct tourism services and support services. And that there was still some hesitance among some tourism operators to sign on to the BEST program, especially for the investment component. That is the $2 million they said in exchange for preference shares. Grant said that the approval by cabinet to the changes and recent dramatic declines in visitor arrivals should also result in a wider take-up. It says that Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Motley noted that it was always expected that there would not be a 100% taker of the plan, given that some entities were owned by multinational corporations. And we always knew that hotels owned by multinational corporations were unlikely to come in because of the structure of preference shares. But we recognize that after entreaties from the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, that there were some hotels who prefer to take ordinary debt rather than to have preference shares, and we are reviewing that now. So as you can see, the government went in on a power grab to take some ownership shares in the hotel industry, right? And the same multinational hotels, which we argued earlier in this show, right? Which we argued earlier in this show, do very little for Barbados, blocked the government and told them that they don't want this BEST program, is the structure that it's in. You have to go back to the table because we are not giving up any preference shares in our ownership structure. So here is again the international conglomerates and the international community blocking the government of Barbados from taking up a smart power grab to try to power grab and bully their way into these companies' balance sheet. So you see the government get tricked at its own game. Right? So you're seeing the government getting tricked at its own game. And then the Minister of Finance of Barbados is saying that they always knew. This Prime Minister talking, we always knew that multinational corporations were unlikely to come in because of the structure of preferences. So why did you do it in the first place? Then you're so ashamed. You're so ashamed that you had to go back to the table to make changes to it to then say, well, we're going to offer you ordinary debt in exchange for preference shares. But we always knew. Yeah, we always knew. Trying to be smart and crafty and tricky, right? So, I hope you guys are keenly into this conversation because it's starting to get very interesting what's happening in the tourism industry of Barbados and with these hotels and with this BEST program, right? The BEST program. And you can clearly see where the government of Barbados put a very crafty sleight of hand to stop the workers in this country from benefiting from $170 million worth of severance payments, but on the other hand, trying to use a power grab to take preference shares into the ownership of hotels. Ironically, if you go by what the government said, that they always knew, that means that they intentionally went in to try to grab ownership and grab at local hotels. So if they could offer ordinary debt to the multinational corporations because they always knew, but offer preference shares to local hotels and local businesses that the government could do a power grab and take preference shares in, that would say to me that the government is strategically trying to consolidate power in the local hotel industry, right? Which means that if these local hotels cannot afford to pay back the government of Barbados, that the government of Barbados will now have stake in these hotels that sign on to the BEST program smartly and strategically. So let's just go down a little conspiracy theory here. Let's just say the government puts enough pressure on these local hotels that they have to close down. Then poof, there's no competition for the multinational brands, and then poof, the government ends up with ownership in these hotels, which could then be later sold off to these multinational corporations, which would then come and consolidate power within a few hotel brands. Not saying that that is what happened. We're just speculating. This is alternative view, so we always put an alternate view. So if y'all agree with my line of thinking that but the government strategically tried to take ownership in these local hotels, but then on the other hand, they always knew that the multinationals would block it, and then they had to go back to the drawing board and offer them normal debt. And if you look at it, there's been nothing being done to help increase the fortunes of local hoteliers, but the government is strategically putting more and more taxes and more pressure, offering concessions and offering all types of benefits to the Wyndham Group and all types of concessions and benefits to the Hyatt Group. This continues to squeeze local hoteliers out of the Barbadian hotel industry and making it much easier for these big name, big brand multinationals, which continue to rip off Barbados and send home workers, you all know who we're speaking about, and put workers on contracts and hire workers for 9 months and then fire them because if you work for a year straight, you gotta pay unemployment and you gotta pay. These hotels fire you. Right? So the government is strategically lopsiding the tourism industry by giving all of these big brands the concessions and all the favor, will continue to tax and put pressure on the local hoteliers, which is essentially going to completely collapse locally owned accommodations. And then, magically, then the big brands snap them up and buy them up and gobble them up. And then the local brands are no more. And then will be filled with only brand name hotels that are basically multinational corporations. But then again, the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister of Barbados said they always knew. They always knew. It was right here. I could put it right back on the screen for you. We always knew. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna put it right back here on the screen. All right. All right. So let me zoom in a bit on. Ah, let me read this part. It says here that this is another hotel brand coming in. It says that on Tuesday, officials of the Cruise In Group, who will be operating Hotel Indigo, broke ground for the construction of the plant, which is expected to be completed by the end of 2024. Motley said this project was just one of many which will be undertaken in coming months. Again, so they're continuing to build all these hotel brands. I expect you will see others going forward. This is the first major groundbreaking of a tourism kind, she said, and they were standing on the South Coast where a 131 room hotel Indigo is slated to be built. And in addition, and again, a US $175 million Hyatt Ziva Barbados resort, the Memorial administration has been touting several hotel and tourism related projects along Bay Street to Holborn Circle, St. Michael, that are to come on stream. She declined to say exactly what other projects will get going soon. However, she recalled that the former Caribbean hotel I spoke earlier about the maturing of Barbados' tourism product. And what is happening here is the exact thing we want to happen. When we talk about repurposing old and mature tourism product for a modern day Barbados, this is the example that we're speaking of. Still being able to have more density on this site, being able to therefore command more revenue for the hotel to make the hotel more competitive, and at the same time ensuring that those sites literally brought earnings for the country and jobs for Barbadians. James Edgell, director of Caribbean Consultants Limited, parent company of One Warriors Limited, is leading the construction of a 131-room Hotel Indigo, which is owned by Intercontinental's Hotel Group, one of the largest hotel companies in the world. It is very prestigious that Barbados can attract such a brand. It will be 7 stories and it represents about US $50 million in investment by investors. Right? Um, and then the premises say represent a vote of confidence in the economy and the technical. So that is our development model, people. Multinational hotel groups, large hotel chains and brands, bringing these hotel chains and brands here, while at the same time looking for means and ways to squeeze local hotels out of the market. Because these hotel brands like to have, you know, guaranteed guaranteed revenue. So if most of the local hotels are, crushed, or if most of these local hotels can't compete in terms of concessions, and eventually they're going to be placed out of business, and then the multinational corporations will have no competition. So I would put this to you, alternate viewers. Right? Do you think that government has a fair hand as to the distribution of economic prosperity? Based on everything we discussed tonight, would you say that the government treats local hotel owners fairly as compared to these international multinational corporations? Right? So instead of investing in local hotels and the local hotel industry to keep the wealth locally, we sell out and give these multinational brands everything to come here and cooperate. And then for the Minister for Finance to say, well, we always knew that they would not allow us. So when you're bullying the local hotels, but you're giving away our money to the international brands, help me to understand that. So in even in economics and even in our golden goose, the government continues to unfair locals. But to own a hotel, you can't be broke. To own a hotel, you have to have some level of wealth. So even our locals that have wealth, some of which are black people, by the way, right? The government is putting pressure and squeezing local hotel owners. So even if you got money in Barbados, you're not safe. And here was I only thinking that it was poor people who were being unfair. But even the wealthy in Barbados are being unfair by the government. Just check it out. Savvy on the Bay. Savvy on the Bay. Why would you pass an economic policy to take such a nice development like Savvy on the Bay and turn it back into a car park? Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? So even a guy like uh Kinch, who has some level of wealth in Barbados, he's being bullied because the government, as part of the Brainstorm redevelopment plan, has sold off that property right there by the beach. Right? And the property right there by the Ministry of Health, if you know, you guys follow the news, so you see that property right there on the Ministry of Health, where there's a lot of these fires. Every month there's a fire in there. That property there has been sold to put a hotel right there on Bay Street. Right? So the intention is to have that hotel there, and the residents of the hotel will just cross over the road and go over into the beach, over there with jetty on Bounce Beach. So the government is trying to move out of Kicks and move Savvy on the Bay because they already sold off that property to a multinational hotel brand. And as you know, in this world, money, money talks. So the people of Barbados are going to be crushed and rolled over for another international hotel brand. But we will keep speaking the facts here on alternative views. We have another article to put up. But after this, I want to take some comments from you. I want to engage you, the viewers, as to what we're discussing here. So CU says hotels need urgent help. CU says hotels need urgent help. Right? So if you look at this guy here, has a mask on, but his name is Gordon Seal. Gordon Seal. And Gordon Seal is saying that government's best plan is anything but good for hotels. Veteran hotelier Gordon Seal has contended, suggesting that it put jobs ahead of hoteliers' debt. Right? He says that government put jobs ahead of hoteliers' debt. And Seal, who owns Bougainvillea Resort and Sugar Bay, Barbados, argued that the job saving program is funding losses and could possibly drive hoteliers out of business. Instead, he would have preferred jobless workers to claim unemployment insurance until hotel businesses pick back up. His two hotels, which employ 480 people, are bleeding astronomically. Right? They are bleeding astronomically. Up to November, have recorded a combined net loss of $450,000 each month. He said that losses did not factor in the downturn in business as the pandemic sent the tourism industry into a tailspin. And back in the throat speech, the Governor General Dame Sandra Mason announced that Barbados' best plan, $300 million stimulus package, will be rolled out to allow unemployed Bajans in the tourism and hospitality sector to benefit. Right? But Seal maintained that the plan was hurting. Gordon Seal maintained that the plan was hurting hoteliers more than anything, and he declared that the scheme is funding losses and will dilute ownership. It will dilute ownership of the hotels. Right? And he says that how can anyone who understands the program claim that the government is looking after businesses at the expense of labor? It is just a mystery, and this is what has been put in the public domain all of the time. The best plan looks after labor while the hotels run up debt. Furthermore, having run up debt, the hotel still has a severance liability hanging around its neck. Having run up debt, the hotel still has a severance liability hanging around its neck. In other words, those people who go into the BEST program, they continue with the full severance, and it is a cost that we see has come up now and can come up again. And the conversion of preference shares into common shares after the dilution of ownership, especially for financially weak hotels, could result in a change of ownership of the hotels, possibly to government. And this is the point that I was arguing all along. And here is Gardner Seal backing up. Here is Gardner Seal, veteran hotelier, backing up what alternate views and Kemar Stewart has put on the table. That the government strategically went after local hoteliers to take over the industry, possibly to create space for the multinational brands. Right? And Seal said that instead that he would have preferred for the unemployment insurance benefit to be extended until arrival numbers reach a predetermined input. And he said that this would have required, well, I don't agree with this one here, but he said that he required a further extension of the 26 weeks for claiming severance. But Seal said the government claimed it could not find the money to do so. I say it seems to me that this is more of an accounting problem than a cash flow problem for government, because they're willing to give hotels $300 million to pay this BEST program. He said that hotels in Barbados are facing a significant severance bill, so that is probably why the Attorney General brought that legislation to stop those severance payments. And he revealed that payments at Bougainvillea Resort was in the range of 2.4 million. And he called on government to assist hotels to prevent their businesses from folding. Seal said that the question is, should the hotels have been asked to pay out millions in severance when they had no control over COVID in this event? You know, he may get a little semantics here, but y'all got the point that I was trying to make all along. The ownership structures of the local hotels were going to change, are going to change, and Gardner Seal proved my point as to what I was arguing all along. So the government says straight up, well, we know we can't get the multinational hotels to sign on to this program, so they went after the local hotels, trying to strategically commandeer ownership. Like, so even the local Barbadians with money, the government not feeling for them. So imagine the life of a poor man or poor people in Barbados. What you think happened or happening, and still will continue to happen to us? Not even the people with money they care about. Yeah, Michael, we argued this. We argued this. What on offshore Ireland, we did say that all governments to the Caribbean do it, and we listed all of the political parties in the Caribbean, and we said yes that most of the Caribbean governments do it. We argued that, so we agree with you. Concessions to multinational corporations, well, you don't give concessions to the local hoteliers, but you setting up programs to strategically crash them. Right? So there's Gardner Seal, right? A Caucasian hotel owner, or we call a local white Barbadian, agreeing with us that this BEST program would have strategically killed off the local tourism industry, right? Possibly changing the ownership structures. So, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? What do you guys think about what we've discussed so far on alternate views? We're up at 205 persons tonight. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Very, very happy to have you. But what do you guys think about all we've discussed so far? See a lot of comments coming in. Welcome to Timmy. Welcome to Ronald Roach. Welcome to Alternate Views. Very happy to have you in. Certified Sugars, thank you. Loyal patron supporter here every week. We want to acknowledge her. Tamika Harper is saying, so basically, well, Barbados needs money and the government is grabbing for big deals. The smaller hotels will be squeezed out instead of giving a true chance to stay in operation. Yes, this is the comment right here. This is the comment right here. In summation of everything that we said so far, this is the comment right here. They is saying, well, maybe it's time they feel like the poor man. Pedro Jam is saying, arson or climate change. Well, well, I I will leave that one. I'll let that one go. What you guys say? Well, what I say, as you already said, these big hotels get 25 years of tax-free concession and give nothing at all back to this country. Here, here, here. Hey, Jude Lawrence is saying guests are reducing local hotels to bed and breakfast, commanding smaller earnings. That could be true. American Nurse is saying concessions were always part of the economic structure of the Caribbean Operation Bootstrap in the 60s. But Michael, last week we went extensively, we went through what we call the Fiscal Incentives Bill of 1974 Barbados, and we spoke to how those fiscal incentives were repealed. Those fiscal incentives traditionally went to the hotel sector. Um, Sandals benefited. Uh, Quite a few hotels benefited through that fiscal incentives, but through the World Trade Organization, Barbados had to comply with its international jurisdiction and remove that fiscal incentives. So concessions are not offered as they were before. So that is a point to note. So going forward, these type of concessions that we knew before are not really available. Times are changed. Barbados is now a modern day economy, according to the official. Right. So pay attention to that, Michael. The fiscal incentives bill being repealed in Barbados, and those concessions and hotel concessions were basically pushed aside. So also the same fisheries is next to be pushed out. Jeremiah Joseph is saying, Gannett Kimar have renewed strength, courage to carry on. You are not alone. Barbados is not alone. The Caribbean is not alone. Victims are not alone. As so above, so below. As so within, so without. So that is true, Jeremiah. Yes. Kimar, very skeptical when they hear the government mention any positive words of hope. Our best program. That is very true. The world is saying, as Chief Thing says, you know that this why dear the dialect got me here. Says here, you know that this government is all for the rich, the employers, the big business, capitalists, etc. You know that. Oh, you know that. You know that. The best program was at the best program. Neither was earning a bird. You know that. Yay! Where are the bodies going to away from to occupy and make these plethora of hotel rooms profitable, especially during the low seasons? Concessions, concessions, concessions. Well, as I said, concessions are being worked out. So they have to tell us how they intend to get people here. So I guess having Vibes Cartel concerts, Rihanna concerts, uh, you can't have cricket World Cup every year. So turning, I can't tell you, the government needs to have a plan to get people in Barbados. And hope, well, let me not use that word, but I pray that the government does not intend to devalue the currency of Barbados. Because that is on the table if people don't understand how Barbados is thought about in the international world. Our 2 to 1 peg is the envy of many countries in the world. And the IMF, the IMF has argued that to achieve a restructuring of the Barbados economy and to make tourism more attractive to the international world, that Barbados should consider removing its currency peg and soften it and move it from 2 to 1 to approximately a 7 to 1 or 10 to 1, and therefore that will give countries with currencies bigger than Barbados that would then allow a massive influx of tourists and people who would then come and spend. Know that the dollar has been moved from a 2 to 1 to a 7 to 1 or 10 to 1. That is the idea on the table if persons are not aware. But I pray that they don't take that route because Barbados is pricing itself out and pricing itself out and pricing itself out. And economically, our hands have become so tight. We are in a debt trap at the moment. Right? We are in a debt trap at the moment, and we have very limited sources to borrow from. So the IMF says when you are in that situation, then you have to cut public spending and cut public services. But how much can you really cut in Barbados, or what's there left to cut? So after they can't cut no more, the next option is to devalue the currency. Hey, and I could show you how Barbados' currency could be devalued very easy based off the debt trap that we are in. But before we get there, because that is a whole nother discussion. Before we get there, before we get there, I want to show you what our former tourism minister was saying. So after I wrote my article suggesting to the government to restructure their tourism industry, we then had the Minister of Tourism at the time speaking of the restructuring of the tourism industry. So this is our goodly former tourism minister here at the time speaking. And it says here that a major restructuring, right, a major restructuring of Barbados' tourism product is on the cards to improve its competitiveness. Minister and International Transport, Minister of Tourism and International Transport, Mr. Cummins has announced. This, as she also revealed, that the Barbados $70 airport service charge paid by CARICOM travelers would also be extended to include other regional travelers, and that there would be a further review of the underutilized BEST program. So, wow. Cummins was responding to questions during a State of the Industry Media Day at the Barbados Hilton. And Cummins disclosed that Cabinet has agreed that there is to be a 50% reduction in the airport service charge to regional travelers. And that brings us pretty much in line with what you have been hearing coming out of other markets and particularly that war market has already announced Antigua that there's a 50% reduction in that fee. And Barbados at the cabinet level has also agreed to that significant reduction, and that is meant to reduce the taxes on interregional travel. The airport service charge, which was introduced in 2018 as part of the sweeping tax measures, is set at Barbados $70 for CARICOM travelers and Barbados $140 for other regional destinations as well as international travel. Right? And this was request was made. The cabinet approved this amendment. Uh, right, and basically that's what they call restructuring. No, I have something that I want to read from, but I gotta find it first. But somebody's asking me, can Mario and see what in Ireland did to some hotels, homes for illegal immigrants, economic refugees? Well, that's probably why the government of Barbados is focusing on an open immigration policy in the Barbados, finding any means and ways to house an influx of people because the tax base of Barbados is so small compared to the debt levels that the amount of people that we have here cannot allow the government to make back the amount of money that they have to pay back in debt. So that's why they try to focus on getting migrants and immigration in Barbados because they need more people to tax. They need a broader tax base. 287,000 people for a country that is about 14, 15 billion dollars in debt. You know? So numerically, the government needs a broader tax base. They need more numbers. They need more people coming into Barbados, and they will find any mean, any way of all to house these people. So a lot of these houses that were supposed to be going on in the best program were not necessarily going to benefit Barbadians totally. A lot of these were going to possibly non-nationals too. And let's look at tourism, right? It says here, I remember Minister Cummings said that they reduced the fee because Antigua did theirs. And remember on alternative views in earlier we spoke to Gaston Brown and how Gaston Brown handled LIAT 2020. You know, we spoke about admiration for Gaston Brown. So after Gaston Brown cabinet reduced their fee, then the Barbados government then ran and then reduced theirs too. So that is what we have. We don't have the vision to do things. Right? We follow pattern other people because we want always be in competition. So part of the reduction of that fee for CARICOM nationals came with an amendment, right? Came with an amendment called, and I'm reading from Alternate Views again, page 174. Page 174. Right? It says here, that the Caribbean Community Amendment Act 2019. The Caribbean Community Amendment Act 2019. It says that this act was tabled to revise the categories of persons who are eligible to be recognized as skilled community nationals. Right? Skilled community nationals. So these included artists, musicians, media persons, sports persons, cultural workers, agricultural workers, domestics or maids, nurses, and teachers, and to revise the provisions related to an indefinite stay, or basically we call citizenship, of skilled Caribbean community nationals and dependents, or we call the children of these skilled nationals in Barbados. This amendment was made to allow for easy immigration of Caribbean nationals into Barbados. So that is why when you go to the gas station, you hear Jamaican accents. That is why when you go to a lot of the hotels, you hear Jamaican accents and other Caribbean national accents. That is why Nelson Street and Bay Street and Bush Hill, right? In those areas, you're hearing a lot of non-national accents over there, right? In the city, there's the emergence of Vixie Town. There's emergence of uh, Guyanese villages. You even have the flash zone bars, which is maybe a Guyanese bar. So you have like a mass influx of Caribbean nationals coming into Barbados because of this amendment right here. So this could also be classified as tourism, right? So that act, which is called the Caribbean Community Amendment Act Movement of Skilled Nationals, allow and the amendment allow for the indefinite stay of these skilled workers along with the children, right? Along with the children. That was the amendment made locally, and then on a national level, the government tried to put in what you call the Welcome Start program, right? You Welcome Start program. You you Welcome Start program. So you had two different amendments because that Caribbean Community Act was amended twice. Right? Twice. It was amended twice. And that is why when you go into the gas station or in some supermarkets or so, you are seeing the hiring of many Jamaicans and St. Vincentians and solutions here because the government just made it extremely easy for that to happen. No, if you going as Pedro is saying the exotic clubs and all of the exotic clubs, the dancers and stuff, non-national access. So these are the persons, right, coming in and contributing to the Barbados economy because of those amendments. Now, Tim Ward is asking, is there a plan for a hotel license also? Yes, Tim Ward, we discussed that on the show that we shot live in Dublin. So if you go and rewatch the show from last week, you will hear of some plans to put a massive hotel at Oystains, and therefore Miami Beach will no longer be freely available for locals. Right? So watch that show, Tim, because you don't want to veer off to go back down that lane with no. So this welcome stamp, right? The government of Barbados rolled out a 12-month welcome stamp program, right? And the Prime Minister of Barbados said that we need to boost the population of the country, right? She pointed out that the population was dwindling, and she said that the island will soon need more people to live and work here. And that is mainly for tax purposes, as I said. Right? Because this amendment was done in Barbados, not by Caribbean nations. This was only done in Barbados. Right? This was only done in Barbados. So the Prime Minister is saying that we will need more people to live and work here, and they conceptualize what they call the Live and Work Initiative, which was introduced in July in 2020. I'm at page 133 in Alternative Views. Page 133, welcome start. And it said that it is aimed at attracting individuals from around the globe to work remotely in Barbados for up to a year while contributing to the economy. And they have the option of reapplying for the visa once their time has expired. So based on what you know and based on what you study, right, the forecasted changes to the welcome stamp according to the global changes is that, and I'm predicting, and they predicted the alternative views that that welcome stamp was a citizenship by investment program, but they coined it into another name, the smart, because they don't want international pressure. Right? They don't want international pressure to come on the scrutiny from the OECD and those places to, because as you know, I think it is Dominica and Antigua or so that has citizenship by investment, right? So citizenship by investment, as you know, is where high net worth people who have a lot of money, you know, wealth and stuff, can be able to purchase a passport, mainly a Barbadian passport, and by extension acquire citizenship in Barbados for a cost, with the ability to add children onto it, much like what happened with the amendment to the CARICOM, you know, the Caribbean Community Amendment Act. And they will bring their children and get citizenship. These children will get citizenship. And I argue that similar action was taken in St. Kitts. So St. Kitts has citizenship and investment. And part of the savior of the St. Kitts economy, while they were in the IMF program, was citizenship by investment. So a lot of the money that St. Kitts earned in citizenship by investment helped to save their economy when they were in the IMF program. So Dominica has it, St. Lucia had it, Grenada had it, and Antigua and Barbuda has it. And the minimum amount of investment for one of their passports, they start at US $100,000. So that's about 200,000 Barbados dollars. That if the government had went fully through, because they didn't go fully through with this welcome start, they start short, right? $200,000 would have been the starting price for a passport, in Barbados if they were allowed to do what they have to do, right? But I want to show you something here. But I want to say alternate views that the welcome stamp visas, they call them, targeted individuals that were earning at least US $50,000 a year and have insurance coverage or have an arrangement in place to get one on island. So there they go, you know, facilitating business for the insurance. And the cost of a welcome stamp visa was approximately US $2,000 per person, which is 4,000 Barbados dollars, or US $3,000 per family, right? Now, I will say here, and I said in alternate views at page 134, that the holders of that Barbadian passport would have been granted the privileges under the auspices of the Governor General at the time. And I argue that when you look at your current passport, and anybody that has a Barbadian passport right now could take up the passport, and they will see on that passport that those passports still have our Governor General of Barbados, even though we're going to a republic. So since Barbados transitioned to a republic, the office of Governor General no longer exists. So therefore I argue that our current passports really truly should have been null and void, and we should have been issuing new passports under the auspices of a president of Barbados. But passports are still coming up with the Governor General seal on it. Right? So then I went on to say at page 134 that the issuance of new passports under the President of Barbados is required to have a legal document or a legal passport under what you call a new republic. And I argued that, and then quickly the government put out a notice saying that they are going to move they're going to move to start issuing new passports by the president of Barbados. And they predicted that citizenship by investment would have been coming on stream soon after that, right? But lo and behold, right? I'm going to put something on the screen here for you to see that Barbados's Home Affairs Minister at the time, our favorite minister, we're trying to get our favorite minister because, right? So you can see this here, right? It says Barbados not considering the acquisition of citizenship by investment. Right? So Judith Waldron is asking, what about the infrastructure to support an increased population? What are we doing? We doing. So it says here now that the following statement on citizenship by investment was issued Thursday by Barbados' Minister of Home Affairs and Information, Wilfred Abrahams. He's saying that Barbados is not considering the acquisition of citizenship by investment. Abrams was asked directly whether under the proposed new citizenship or immigration legislation that there will be citizenship by investment similar to that in other Caribbean countries. And Minister Abrams advised that the Barbados government has never been in favor of a citizenship and investment program, and this was not under consideration by the government. He explained that the new legislation will see the introduction of a point-based system that could ultimately see persons qualify under a new and expanded basis to apply for citizenship, as opposed to the limited criteria which now exist. And the position of the government of Barbados is that even under a points-based system, investment alone will never be the basis of granting citizenship in Barbados, which is a very contradictory statement, right? Let me read that again. He's saying that the government will never be in favor of it, but they say that the government is introducing legislation for a point-based system that could ultimately see persons qualifying under a new and expanded basis to apply for citizenship, as opposed to the limited criteria which exists now. So what are you changing it to? If you're increasing the possibilities for people to get citizenship, explain it to me what you're changing it to. Right? So they're finding smart ways to increase the population of Barbados, right? Using these programs, these what's called, you said it's a point-based program that they could use to make it easier for people who want citizenship by investment. So help me there with that one. Somebody, somebody more technical than I. Like somebody more technical than I should help me with that one. Right, so Pedro was saying citizenship by investment rather than about concern. Yes, Pedro, we just explained that extensively with facts. With facts. So we have another article here, nice write up that we want to read. This goes to the dangers of selling citizenship. The dangers of selling citizenship. Yeah. So it says here that the dangers of selling citizenship is that when the protective arm of the former colonizers were removed from the Caribbean economy's trading arrangement with the push for globalization, the region was left to scramble for sustainable economic structures. Most of them shifted to tourism and away from the fading monocrops on which many of their economies shakily stood. Preferential schemes from Europe. Oh, that's a nice long right there. So we're going to skip through some of that. He says that the very Europeans who urged the region to move away from its dependency on agricultural crops to more sustainable economic alternatives have been the ones accused of aggressively seeking to undermine and dismantle the global financial services in many islands. Countries in the Eastern Caribbean from St. Kitts to Dominica have shifted their flagging sugar and banana exports to the highly lucrative citizenship by investment programs. In St. Lucia, for example, a foreigner from anywhere in the world with the required wealth can obtain an OECS passport and citizenship for themselves and their families for about US $100,000 plus fees. For Dominica and Antigua, a passport, citizenship by investment seekers must fork out US $150,000 plus fees. The citizenship by investment rate for those countries will increase to US $200,000 from July 1st. And over in St. Kitts and Nevis, the fee is US $250,000. It is understood that the OECS countries with citizenship and investment programs have benefited tremendously from injections of significant foreign exchange over the years. And for years, various Barbadian prime ministers have stayed clear of the program, despite Barbados' passport being top rated in the Caribbean. Citizenship by investment programs are by no means a panacea. Hope I pronounce that word correctly for the economic challenges facing the Caribbean. Not denying the benefits, the challenges are blowing up in the face of regional leaders, with one former prime minister named in a civil suit in the United States facing suspicious financial dealings involving citizenship by investment arrangements, attracting several Russian and Chinese citizens, some of whom reportedly never reside in the island, but use the passports to gain free entry to the United States and other countries, and citizenship by investment schemes are under increased scrutiny due to the specter of corruption and money laundering. Some programs allow the unborn children and grandchildren to obtain citizenship, whilst others make it more complicated. When increased scrutiny facing citizenship and investment programs, two members of the U.S. Congress sought amendments to the Immigration Act by introducing the No Travel for Traffickers Act in 2022 to disqualify any country from participation in the U.S. visa waiver arrangement if it allows individuals to obtain citizenship through investment. So you guys basically see what is going on and what is happening as it relates to the citizenship by investment programs, etc., etc., etc. Pedro is saying that will speak needs an expert to explain. Well, I probably need the expert too, cause I did quite understand him either, Pedro. But I think we covered quite a bit tonight. I think we did extensive work tonight. So we're gonna cap off here and we're gonna pick this up next week again. So we're just gonna take in some comments for the last. We're trying to stay disciplined. Last week we went overtime, so this week we don't want to go too far overtime. So let me just take in some comments. Palmer says saying they might very well use some hotels for the homeless. We don't have enough homeless people for that. Jeremiah is saying they try to make us completely docile. I know they're coming with distractions. True. So Alfred is saying Barbados are 10 Barbados to 1 US dollar. No, that's bad. Well, if you read Marla Dukaran's piece, you will see she made a recommendation for a 7 to 1 or whatever instead of softening the currency. So there are some economic pieces out there that speaks to that, but we could do a show on that separately. Right. Oh, they're saying good night to all. Good night to you. I think we answered this question by Michael Nurse. Tamika Harper is saying, I thought they wanted to get people to get more children for a bigger population. But they want more people to tax, Tamika, so that is exactly why. To drop Waldron, I think we answered this question. But good night to you, Brother David, and good night to the entire family. Good night to Romeo Hickson and all of the others. We're not seeing Annette Wood on tonight. We usually see her. But good night to Annette Wood and good night to Square 4. We're missing Square 4 tonight. We're not seeing Square 4. So good night to Square 4. When Rock is saying the other thing is, do you realize the names that are appearing in the courts? When last you hear of a name like Griffith, Jordan, Cambridge, or any major type names when we talk about crime? Tim Ward is saying, is your mic picking up the crickets? Well, Tim, we usually do. The crickets are quite loud here, am I? Um, you know, but the crickets have to live as well. But what are saying they're changing it to a free for all basis. That's the only thing you can mean. And to make up is saying anybody with wealth could come into Barbados who would ask questions about who is super art, the government would then welcome anybody and sell off our little island, which is almost very true. But we have come to the end of alternate views. I had a very good discussion this evening on Barbados tourism product, Barbados tourism offering, the hotel industry, labor legislation. Uh, we touched a bit on immigration and coming into Barbados. Was the experience like? We argued earlier for investments into the airport. However, we need a better deal as it relates to that PPP arrangement. I don't believe the airport should be given away for 30 years in terms of management rights, but I do support the push to get investment in terms of upgrading people at the Alice International Airport. We did citizenship by investment, and we covered extensive topics tonight. So I will let some feedback from you, the alternate viewers, as we are back in Barbados. Back in Barbados. So it's very good to be back home tonight. Very happy to see the audience growing. We went past 200 people tonight. So I am very, 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 very glad. I'm very glad to be back home in Barbados. Uh, we love our country. We love our country. Yeah, but here is, a very nice photo that is going to come up. Of us when we were. This photo was taken in Ireland as I was in one of the sessions, one of the economic training sessions that we had, and even as far as we could go, I had to wave the Barbados flag because I love this country and I will fight for this country and to fight to ensure that the Caribbean region has the best as it relates to, governance and it relates to ideas, bold ideas, transformative economic and social change is what we're all about on Alternate Views. Alternate Views and Emergent Venture for 2024. And I just want to express my total love for Barbados. I want to express my total love for the alternate viewers, and I want to express, you know, my heart and soul, uh, and to tell you that I take joy and pleasure coming on alternate views every week to share with you and to discuss how we could better Barbados and how we could better uh, the region. No, I saw a comment here asking if I got to speak with the former governor of the central bank. Unfortunately, not. I have not reached out to him, and nobody reached out to me to to make that connection happen. But I didn't have the time to really sit around and do it. But we're going to try to make that happen as soon as possible. Next week is my belief that we will have a guest. But we need to settle the logistics first. But it's going to be an exciting time next week. So don't forget to tune in next week at 7 p.m. So we're going to make that happen. Clevister Haynes and many other guests we're going to have on to bring bold ideas to the front and center and to push more liberal thought to some extent in the Caribbean, creating a better future for the Caribbean, a more connected future for the Caribbean, and a more united future for Barbados and the entire Caribbean region to benefit, as the future is not divided but very much united. And it is my goal to push for a united Caribbean, with Barbados being one of the leading thought drivers for transformative and economic change throughout this side of the Western Hemisphere. So, don't forget to tune in to Marcy Weeks' show tomorrow at 7 p.m. They're still going, so you continue to give the Marcy Weeks show your support. And alternate views, we are signing out. This is the earliest I think we've ever finished right on time. We are at 9:28. So thank you guys for tuning in very much. Tamika Harper, Timmy, Pedro Gemma, Dale Worrell, and everybody from St. John, Ryan Walk, Tim Ward, Jujot Waldron, Michael Nurse, they get to Aisha Harding, Rafe, and everybody. Big up to the DLP, the Democratic Labour Party, me Democratic here in Barbados, not the Democrat Party in America. But I have my thoughts about that. Eventually, I'm going to share. I'm going to share what I think about the US thing, but not yet. So thank you guys for tuning in and giving me a very excellent show tonight. Drew Lawrence is saying nice to have you back home, Kimura. I hope this session serves as an eye-opener for all Barbadians home and abroad. Once again, excellent presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chesterfield Brown. I saw you on the live earlier. Thank you very much. Square 4, again, we have not seen you, so we miss you tonight, Square 4, but nevertheless, we hope to see you next week. Sir Alfred Benjamin, and all of the Marcia and all the early Patriot supporters, Mr. Angel, all the way from St. John. Thank you very much. Fabian Yard from St. John as well. Oswald Newton, all of my St. John supporters, very special good night to you. Archie Victor, thank you very much for tuning in all the way to St. Lucia. Larissa Pierre, thank you very much, Fonzo, for tuning in all the way from the city of Bridgetown. Charlene Hackett, thank you very much. Rosemary Lane, Pete Ray, everybody, thank you very much. Galvez, I have not seen you on for a while, Galvez, so I hope to see you very soon. Nigel Franklin, thank you for tuning in all of the way in the US. Thank you very much. We still have to get you on the show to promote the Black Champion brand, Black Champion Lifestyles, that is the brand. So you have to get Nigel Franklin on. Jeremiah in the Bible, you have two very powerful names. We name Jeremiah Joseph. So those are two very strong biblical names. So your life is our danger, my Joseph. So thank you very much for tuning in, and big respects to everybody. We are sending out from alternate views. So thank you guys very much. Um, I will see you next week.
Good morning, all. I am Endorsed, and I'm reporting to you live from Dublin, Ireland at the Emergent Ventures conference. We're here on the sidelines, and I wanted to say thank you guys very much for your support. Alternate Views, the book and podcast, has been selected as one of the transformative emergent ventures, uh, which was a short list for persons all over the world. So we've been recognized as a leader in economic development and a leader of transformative social change. So we just wanted to update you and let you know what was going on. So we attended the conference, and we want to acknowledge all of those persons who have supported alternate views. And I wish to say thank you to you all, and to acknowledge persons like Mr. Daniel Calendar, Mr. Margot Trent Calendar, Dr. Dennis Lowe, and all of those other persons who would have contributed to alternate views. So I just want to